All right, let's get it. Welcome back to Blast R6 EUL Play Day 2 with me, Ian. We got the biggest brain in the game, Fresh, and Alfama, Pro 10, just wonderful analyst right here. And we're excited because right now it is time for a big matchup. It's G2 versus BDS. Now, these two huge Siege teams know the weight of Siege silverware, of course, albeit different trophies. And they know each other very well too, because on their journeys, they've come up against each other many times. And it's always nice to set the table ahead of such a big matchup here and take a trip down memory lane, Fresh.
Yeah, these stakes are so high because we're so used to seeing these two teams accumulate trophies. But in the big games head-to-head, they've had so many over the years. It started, Leo, with Shaiko's revenge tour at DreamHack Montreal after he was back from his ban.
Man, that was crazy. Like, the guy waited 2 years for his revenge tour, and he hasn't stopped since then. But coming back and playing G2 there was very special.
Now, obviously, these two teams play in the league, but these are just the big games. G2 won at SI 2020 group stage. BDS got back in the 2020 August mini-major during COVID in the online. And then G2 went in the 2020 EU finals, and they won that finals with that toe shot.
That one was especially a good one. From the vertical play in cafeteria, in theme park, one single pixel shot that got them the win.
And then we go through to more EU finals where BDS started their reign of domination, and then G2 hit back last year. Atlanta Major. If you remember back then, BDS had to win. They had to keep going to make Six Invitational, and G2 gatekept them. These two teams are more than just regional rivals. They are two juggernauts that go head-to-head in these huge games.
It's real. The rivalry is real. The beef is real. I know that every single player on both of those rosters right now, just ready to feast. They want to win here. And let's start off by looking at this G2 roster, shall we? Leo, as we look at these men on the screen, one of them you owe an apology, I think.
No. I don't think I will apologize. It will take more than a B1 for me to apologize. I will say though, I never said they were wrong, good or bad players, sorry. I will say though, they surprised me yesterday because they played as one team. But how did they do it? That's the manner. The playstyle was, we get in the face of the opposing team, we play super aggressive, we play like we play in ranked, and it's gonna work. Okay, great, it's amazing. You have individual talent, that's great. But what's going to happen when you play against a team that strategically is better than you? That's my biggest worry here.
Sorry, Fresh, come here.
What's up?
He's ducking the apology.
He is ducking the apology.
He's ducking the apology.
And I think there's a lot of people, maybe on social media or over teams, that are ducking the apologies because nobody agreed with these roster moves. You didn't.
Yeah, I didn't.
Hold your hands up. Maybe I didn't as well. But they seem to be working out. It was an excellent performance yesterday, and it was excellent performance out of Blaz, who was the player you had the most concern about. So you've got to look down that camera and you've got to apologize to these viewers.
I will say, Blaz, you did play really well.
Blaz is left.
You really pissed him off.
When I take the moment to say good things about him, he just leaves.
Was that to pick up the call for your apology to him? Is that what that was?
No, but he did play well. He did play well. For me, the biggest problem is the way they did it.
Yeah.
I'm hoping to see more of strategical, tactical Siege, because if it's only about fragging and only about this aggressive playstyle, it would be like the old G2. They will have a ceiling.
Which was SI.
Yeah, okay, all right. Fair
They've
point.
got 5 of the best fraggers in the world. Well, 4 of the best fraggers in the world, and Uno, who provides a consistent backline. If it becomes about fragging, and the other team's about fragging, you back G2 in a lot of times.
They are going up against the team that yesterday we dubbed as the best in the world. Of course, yesterday wasn't exactly the BDS performance that we might have come to expect, but they did get the win here, and they are a formidable opponent for G2. I asked you yesterday, Fresh, is there a risk that they might take the foot off the gas after some, great international performances, some big earnings, and you said no. You still feel the same way?
I still feel the same way, but I think we showed that risk exists. We know that BDS will probably mitigate that risk and still do well, but there is a risk because of their placement in Manchester, because they won EWC, that they might take the foot off the gas because they're all but secured Six Invitational.
And take a look at how they won versus Wild yesterday. It was very tough, 8-7, right? But the playstyle for me is the most important. Why did they struggle so much? Evan Likefax said it. He said they were scared. They were scared to go into the building because Wild was in their face the whole time. How did G2 play yesterday versus Fnatic? They were in the face of Fnatic the whole time. If they play the exact same way, BDS will face the exact same problem. How do we enter the building? I need to see them confident, not scared. And funny enough, versus G2, I think they have less of of a pressure than to beat Wild. You see the way I see it?
I see that.
Because they're expected to beat Wild. They should never be that close. But when it comes to big name like G2, you have an excuse to perform a bit worse.
For context here, just about the magnitude of the game and how they're probably treating it. Shaiko yesterday, we've talked about it till the cows come home about his tweet about playing Wild. All he's tweeted today is game day versus G2, sunglasses emoji.
Not taking any risk anymore.
That's it.
But that's the level. There's two things there. There's fear and there's respect.
Yeah.
G2 respect, and this is no slight on Wild, but G2 respect, BDS respects G2 so much more than they do Wild, and they also fear them. That's why there's no, hey, crying baby, you know, whatever it is.
Yeah.
That's nothing. Because Shaiko knows that he's been in so many of these big games against G2 and come out on the wrong side.
At the back end of our interview with Doki yesterday, I did mention the fact that we are calling BDS the best team in the world, and his reaction live.
All right.
You know, these players, especially the G2 ones, they always come into these games with a point to prove, Leo.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you don't wear that emblem, you don't wear that logo, and you are is that team if you don't want to be the best team in the world, not even Europe.
Yep.
So I'm hoping for actually a revenge on the interview. If they win, you will have to ask him the question, are you the best team in the world?
It must hurt G2. You know, us sat here talking about a different team as the best team in the world.
For sure.
Because for the longest time, G2 represented the best team in Europe and possibly the world. So it must hurt them and it must give them that extra motivation.
All right, let's get into map picks here of our EUL El Clasico. Fresh, talk us through it. I know that our chat is ready to get into the game.
Yeah, so Bank, I think on the balance of things, it looks like a bit of a strange one because BDS aren't huge fans of the map. G2, for the longest time, love Bank. BDS, in recent history, and I'm talking at EWC here, was allowing Bank through despite it being their lowest preference, and teams were picking into it. Who were those teams? Furia and FaZe. They beat both of them 7-0 in FaZe on this map. So I would say this is a perfect map because both teams are seemingly very good at it.
I will make this short because I want to get into the action, just I think like every viewers here, but very simple. BDS, although they don't generally like the map and ban it a lot, they have a 100% win rate on it in 2024. They have a 10 win streak on this map. It's not a bad map for them at all, although it's a really good map for G2 with an 88% win rate.
Oh, I am so ready for this. I know that you at home, you're ready for this too. Dev and Pengu. I know Pengu's back in. Dev, what about you? Let's get into this.
I am so ready for this one, Ian. And Pengu, guess what? We're casting your old team once again. It is G2, and they are going up against BDS. This is like the game, right? In Siege at the moment, in Europe. This is that match.
It is, and just to add a bit of a history, I saw that the graphic earlier, that toe shot, that was my final game for my playing career as well. So I always feel like I'm in the middle of all of this, but this was, regardless of bias or previous experience, the match of the day for me because it has big implications on, hey, new G2 versus current BDS, who's gonna fight for what could be the top of the league.
Yeah, and what's more to delve into that, while BDS have historically in recent times been the far better team than G2, for example, in stage 1, it was quite a convincing 7-2 in their favor when these guys played each other. But let's remember what happened yesterday, right? G2 had a really convincing win over an up-and-coming Fnatic, and BDS got pushed to their limit against what we thought would be the bottom team in the league, Wild, even dropping a point to them. So in a way, G2 are on an upwards trajectory, and BDS are perhaps not all that we thought they were cracked up to be this stage. Yeah, they might have come runners-up at the major, but coming second at a major that really, in theory, should have been theirs to win, going up against Beast Coast roster, a bunch of ragtag players that we certainly didn't expect to win. BDS will be kicking themselves about losing in Manchester. It was their home major, and now they're coming into the stage, and there's high expectations for them going into not just this stage, but into Montreal and qualifying for SI like they failed to do last year, thanks to G2.
Oh, yep. Now, I will defend G2 here just for a little bit, right? I still got that bias, like I mentioned. While G2 have not done, major victories and they, won SI back-to-back, after 5 minutes and all that kind of stuff, they did have 2 losses with deep runs where they, guess what, lost to the winner of W7M in like the semifinals. If W7M was on a different side of the bracket, or if G2 had overcome an obstacle, there is a world in which the roster had actually won or made the finals of 2 separate events. One being an SI, one being a major. So, while G2 did fall short, they actually kind of came pretty close.
Very true. Well, it's time to get stuck into Bank. G2 versus BDS, the two titans of Europe going head-to-head here on the second playdate of Stage 2. High stakes as both teams look to prove themselves. G2 after a lackluster recent history and a disappointing Manchester major, and BDS after a slow start to the league yesterday. Let's get stuck into it.
I want to kind of talk about what Alphama spoke, Leo, on the desk, where, you know, we don't want to just see an aggressive G2 where that's all they have, because they will have a ceiling and it's all the same like before. And the thing is, if G2 are gonna go out guns blazing today, right now, right here on Bank, I think the perfect team to counter that aggression will be someone like BDS, because I truly think they can fire back better, faster, stronger, and more consistently. So I do want to see a bit of a different flair from G2, right? Bit of strategical depth, a bit of adaptation, bit of flexibility. Also because Bank doesn't play like Consulate, where you can lock out your opponent from ever entering the building. Bank is all about attackers having an easy first point in the map, but then a difficult time breaking apart the bomb site, right? Lobby, heaven, stock trading, top floor, open area, if it's not the bomb site, typically pretty easy to get a hold of. So it's the late round we gotta focus on for G2 and what they can do in defense and attack around the site itself.
That's right, both these teams are chockers full of firepower. Some of the best gunners in Europe, some of the best gunners in the world are on these rosters. And we saw a little bit of funny back and forth in the operator bans as well. It was G2 themselves who got rid of Monty, Doki, Pokey, and Brodding, saying, we might have stolen your ban there, but Deimos is open, that's your first mistake. To which Shaiko simply laughed, and of course he is now picking the Deimos straight out of the gates, as BDS are the ones on the attack in the first half.
Shaiko is such a crutch, and yet not a crutch, right? It was like the Iana meta, there was a little bit of Thinker meta at one point, now it's Deimos time. But the issue is, if you target ban Shaiko's operator, you know, it's the player that makes it, not the operator itself. He'll just pick a different operator, he'll gun you all the same. So pick your poison, right? You're not really gonna be able to target ban that caliber of a player that Shaiko he is, especially nowadays. League effect as well. He doesn't get enough praise, I think. He is my player right now. EWC yesterday as well, always been up good numbers, leading the team, IGLing, doing prep work, doing strat work, etc. It's gonna be a pretty usual start here for BDS. Of course, you gotta do your droning, shoot the floor a little bit, because why not? And then hold the windows for any tomfoolery that G2 might be trying to apply here.
Yeah.
Trying to bait the swing here, expecting something to happen, but we all know there's no one there for G2.
I love that, the professional shoot the floor move.
Yeah,
as you said, fading out. It could have worked there, but G2 are not playing quite that aggressive, at least not for now. Both teams are actually so phenomenal on Bank, which makes this a real treat to play. You know, BDS recently took down two behemoth Brazilian teams on this map in the EWC. Furia, of course, the reigning world champions, and FaZe, the second of which was a 7-0. And we're seeing that form already. A Brazilian goes down. It's Laura himself, who went for a very ambitious run out and is quickly taken out.
That one's hard these days with the, well, these days, it's been years, but they reduced detection timer for the run out, because that used to be very easy to do as a defender, because you would only get spotted by the time you could shoot the opponent. Nowadays, well, Laura would get spotted way before reaching his actual destination of getting a kill, therefore he gets shot down instead. BDS, 3 people on window rappel, with the Yank being here, this could be a smoke, flashbang, go on in, and just into that bomb side.
Oh, but the timing here might not work out so well for them. Blaz is looking to hold down the fort. He gets concussed, and he moves on over, but not before being taken down by users here on the big repels over near Garage. But BDS spring into action. A few big kills, leaving just Doki and Alamau now to pick up the pieces for a bit of a retake. Doki's tempted. But BDS have not overcommitted as of yet, and as such, they are not in position to go for a plant. Still players on the rappel.
Only one player entered, that's all they needed. 3 people on the rappel, so they can work off this middle piece. This year's a side player falls, it can fall apart very quickly. That right there is G2 equalizing back to a 2-on-2.
So winnable. Doki and Alamau have done a lot of work. BDS not remaining in touching distance of each other. Like you said, so many players still on rappel while one player in the building. Left the door ajar for G2 to bring this game back, and now Doki and Alamau can just sit pretty and wait. Less than 30 seconds to play. Solotov is going to walk through some barbed wire, or rather, User's going to walk through some barbed wire. Bride as well looking to support. But Both of these players are very separated, and this is going to be very desperate. Greeday dropping down straight into the barbed wire. Doki knows exactly where he is and can simply hold this line of sight. A nice, quick spray down, but it is a 1 versus 1 as Usus has found his player. Now Doki has to hold his nerve. Usus doesn't have the diffuser. Quick flick 180 from Doki. He got the read at the last minute. And a big 1v2 for the Scot. Kicks off this game nicely for G2.
That could have been really bad there, and I gotta say, I really like the beginning there for BDS because they make a really smart play. They don't overcommit, they don't invest too much into one strategy. They sent in one player, they force the movement with the Yinkandelas and Sophia stuns, making Blast run away. And Blast was thinking to himself, hey, I got the flank on these guys by jumping onto Banana Balcony, but then, guess what? Another Repel player from BDS on the lobby side of things shuts that down. But the only issue is, once that chaos is over and the players with G2 can start communicating of what's actually happening, you see it right here. Doki, Alamau, they push in together and remove the only relevant players from the building. Because there was a lack of entry from BDS, they didn't have a foothold to hold on to. So the second Sophia dies in the middle of the bomb site, they need to retake everything again. Retake lobby, retake, down the main skylight, walk up those staircases that are full of barbed wire, and everything they worked for, everything they gained was immediately lost again. So BDS, they try not overcommit, but in the end, it actually cost them the round because G2 could make that retake.
Yeah, really thanks to Doki. Huge round from him. 4 kills. Now he's switched on to Vigil and brought the infamous Boss G that everybody seems to be talking about recently.
Stop.
Yeah, I know you're not your favorite, Nick, but you can't deny how potent it is in the current meta. For whatever reason, something has flicked a switch and everyone's becoming a big Boss G fan. And on a big map like Bank with a lot of roam clearing, Vigil is just a perfect operator. When Doki's feeling it, you got to trust his instinct.
It's true. Instinct is key. These kind of situations. No hesitation. No moment of doubt. Just believe in what it is that you see, feel, and hear in the server. BDS, they're playing that same old slow-paced style. Again, they're really double, triple checking everything, expecting some sort of weird aggression, and I don't fault them for it. It happened yesterday when G2 played. It happened that first round, that Garage run out, though it wasn't successful. Now we see the swing from the kitchen double door as well. And G2, they're doing the same thing as well. They're trying to lock out BDS for as long as possible and make them unable to enter the building. But guess what? There is a gap somewhere. Shaiko finds it. It's BDS with the second opening kill so far.
And on the back of it, immediately the logic bomb to detonate. Get the sound cues. There was some information far earlier from the Deimos that there was Valkyrie here in open area. Alamau's actually still in the position to support, so G2 don't want to give up on this roam just yet. Hang on a second. Uno, the flash comes in a little bit too late, and it does allow him to take down Leakafak. He still has survived. He's missed the 2 flashes. A nade goes through as well, but he can continue holding on to this position. Another gas babe, nice and prepped. He can detonate. He's got the shotgun as well. He's about to be Deimos, but he should be able to hold his nerve for another moment. Shaiko wants to go on through. The nade goes out. He goes for a pre-fire, and he gets him as well. The last bullet in the magazine. And Shaiko can confirm that kill and bring things back into the advantage for the attack.
And it's so clutch, that final bullet, because I was so sure Uno was going to swing that with the shotgun, get the kill, and stay alive, and maybe even win the round with that for G2, but it gets worse. Now they're getting desperate, trying to retake, trying to re-aggress here to help Laura on the roam, but instead, going to fall for free. BDS building that advantage, that manpower, 4v2 now. G2 almost feel forced to keep swinging because his side will fall, but all those hatches open up earlier in that round.
It's so awkward for Laura. He's forced back thanks to the Deimos, but now he's got info on where that Deimos is. Greeday sprints straight on into Blaz, who's managed to sneak back into server, and I believe the diffuser has dropped down as well with it. This is very possible now, but Solotov, now's the kill that he really needed to. All up to Laura, but Shaiko gets him. And a great conversion from BDS after a phenomenal start. It is quite handy for them to pick the pieces up, pressure up the site, and lock in their first round.
it does seem like there's a lot of respect right now between both of these two teams where G2, they're playing very aggressive, trying to lock BDS out. And for a moment, you know, BDS will respect it and say, okay, we'll hold angles, we'll join, etc. But then comes a time where they say, enough is enough. You see that aggressive entry. This time it was Shy getting that pick. And then G2, they fall back. They chill for a second. They say, okay, you got the room clear going. We're not going to challenge you too much. But then when nothing happens, G2, they want to create something. They want to be the ones to make those moves. That's when they see them, they start swinging, they start retaking. I mean, Uno swings dying here. Not saying it's the wrong play to make, but he swings, right? After that, there's a player running up the main staircase. He swings and dies. And then Laura is forced to fall back from open area because everything's falling apart around him. So this is not one team controlling the pace and saying, hey, we're the better team, we're gonna dictate exactly what's gonna happen. This is very much a back and forth between these two squads in the early, mid, and late stage of the round.
5 seconds left before insertion.
You can't really call it until it's done. Both these teams will fight tooth and nail, even through the mid-round, even through every disadvantage. G2 probably kicking themselves a little bit, mainly Doki, after having such a nuclear opening round to be picked off so early. But he's, of course, always at the tip of the spear for G2. And the same can be said here. He's on that Solus, who, despite that nerf last patch, has still received quite a bit of playtime. Perhaps things will change after the next nerf comes through. But Doki is looking to make the most of it while she's still as potent as she is and going for a bit of a roam from server. We're going to try and figure out where this BDS push is telegraphed from.
Now, where is it coming from? I'm not sure yet, but oh, there it is. The good old lobby repel. It found one kill the first round, and it finds a kill in the third as well. This is the thing about Bank and even old Country before the rework. The amount of pressure you can find from outside the building on the repels is so hard to deal with. But while we're talking about the exterior, League is in the middle of the building. Instead of Tillis Archives, found a second pick as well. And that's not the biggest issue. The big issue is that because League is in the middle of the map, he's forcing T2 to move to try and catch him off guard.
Yeah, this has just been so well played by BDS. They found one pick on someone roaming very far away, one pick from Leaguefact sneaking into the building, now a second. And yeah, it's just looking grim now for Alamau. 1 versus 5. Leaguefact in prime position. He does get taken down, Alamau, but he doesn't have enough bullets to finish off the job here. Peppered from all sides. He's put down into a corner and doesn't have much hope of making this retake work. He's got a little bit of information, but now he's being Deimosed as well. And position revealed, he is cut down by Brede. A lot of hype from Leaguefact after that round. BDS well and truly in control from start to finish.
And this is one of those rounds where I think this is why Leaguefact is that player. Because yes, he plays that like sometimes support, sometimes flex, but often entry position as an IGL. And often when you play that kind of role as an in-game leader, that's what IGL stands for, you will play very aggressive and just kind of run in and try and go for kills. Uno was that kind of guy back on the stream many years ago, where he was an Ashe player, an entry, and just got into the combat. But Leaguefact is he's a strategist. He doesn't just go to the middle of the building because he finds an easy kill. He goes in there because he knows how valuable that position is for his team. Because when you have Archive Stealers on an open area attack, you have the entire centerpiece that connects the whole building to the bomb site. And just holding that ground enables his teammates, it shuts down G2's rotations, and it almost single-handedly can just win you the round. It's so simple, yet so effective. And I don't think he gets there by coincidence. I think that's a pre-made play where he has a lobby repel to cover his flank. He goes on in, only to worry about one angle, and it's a set-up play from maybe the prep phase of the round even, or maybe the beginning of the round. They have a drone, they spot something out, and they make that a conscious decision.
What can I say? Leaguefact's a smart cookie. He knows how to get the job done. And BDS as a whole, like, very well-rounded team. That's what excites me. This isn't just sending one player in just for the hell of it. Like you said, Leaguefact isn't just playmaking because he wants to. He is, however, playmaking this round. But he is patient as well. He's snuck in through bottom square very early into the round. 30 seconds in. He must have had a pre-placed here. He's not far from finding an engagement as well. He needs to not overextend here. This isn't just about finding a kill and then getting traded. This is about making the most of his position.
Another big thing to note here, I think a lot of teams have used the Dokkaebi phone call to then enable them to get deep into the building. And I think that BDS, they consciously didn't do it because if you do that, defender's gonna think something's up. Why would they call us on a CEO attack if they're gonna be on like window repels, right? There must be a guy rushing through somewhere. So by not using the Dokkaebi phone call, like he has snuck into the building and he's not gonna be known until this moment where he bucks the floor, clears the... There we go, clears the mirror window and already has found value, again gotten that centerpiece of the building and applying pressure to G2. Once they get that pressure, then the phone call goes off. Because League of X position is already exposed, it doesn't matter any longer. It's those small details I think that separates the amazing teams from the good teams.
Users can do a lot of damage as well from this repel. He's now moving away from that position, but his presence was telegraphed thanks to him spraying a little bit through that. It does mean G2 is going to have to be extra cautious. They're essentially pushed back and said, you have to sit in a corner here because we've got Buck underneath you, we've got players on these repels. G2 have to be thinking constantly about where they're playing, otherwise they will get exposed, as has just happened to Blaz.
Oh boy, here we go. Rappel on in, smoke goes out, Uno trades as well, but it's BDS gonna have to just try and strike back here on the bomb side.
Oh, but G2 do hold their nerve. Uno's done a phenomenal job, and it does leave just Shaiko and Bride left. As Shaiko makes his way on forward, he knows about the smoke just around the corner from him in Janitors, but he also has an inkling about Loira here, loitering near the flag. What? And, okay, nice shot from Shaiko through the flag to take him on down. Possible now.
Yeah, I mean, with those trackers as well. Sees one, has guessed the position of the last two. The issue is Bride, what can he get done? Okay, tag up, go together, makes sense. Try and use that information that you have. Make that a 2v2, and all of a sudden this round is very winnable for BDS.
Needs to go in for this kill on the smoke, but good coverage from Uno here on the longer angle. And Alamu to lock it out for G2. Great round there from Uno. A subtle smirk on his face. He's happy about that one. Nice ideas from BDS, but G2 looking pretty confident, even when under pump.
Looking good on CEO, but you're not gonna be able to go back to that bomb side in this half, so you gotta start finding success elsewhere, or you're gonna have a 2-4 half essentially. Now, I would argue that Bang is definitely a tagger favorite, and typically speaking, that's what the statistics say as well. And just from like a player perspective, it is so difficult to play on Bang and feel like you have any space of your own, besides maybe that basement bomb side or maybe even open area sometimes. When you play Bang in ranked or casual, you can run around a bit and you can go for flanks and rotations and usually have a bit of freedom because it's a big map. It's hard to drone and lock everything down, but at the highest level of play, no flank is usually safe. Getting to the bomb side can be extremely difficult, but being a defender on the bomb site can also feel very difficult because there's so much pressure being applied constantly at the high level of play of Siege. So it might seem like, okay, G2, why they're struggling so much? Well, the thing is, BDS, they basically appear to be everywhere on the map, right? No window repel is safe, or you can't assume that it's safe, at least if you're G2. That's also why they're bringing out all this information, right? The Valkyrie, the Echo, watching default cameras throughout the round, because they have to try and build a map in their head where they can say, this is where we are safe, and this is where we might not be safe, because we don't know for sure, but we can't, you know, be too much guessing on this information. We have to know as a fact. That's why the Echo movable information comes around.
Attackers have located a bomb.
Now, G2 are pretty solid at playmaking when they've got that info, so I like the idea. But yeah, there's the IQ on the board, so it's going to be pretty easy for BDS to counter it. It looks like Solotov has already been quite prompt with that, being really thorough, making sure that BDS know exactly where G2 have this information so that they don't fall into their hands.
Just the life of an Echo player. You watch the Valkyrie cam, you do some yellow pinging, then when you're done, you go into your Yokai, you do some more yellow pinging and share that information. And the thing is, with this lineup from G2, they very well could be roaming super aggressively, right? And Doki's, you know, with Laura upstairs trying to make something happen, actually. Uno finds the pick instead of server stairs, this time taking down Shaiko. They're 1-for-1 that spot so far because Uno died last time. And with that death onto Deimos, I think it's gonna keep the roam game alive for even longer here, definitely favoring G2 so far.
Yeah, I'm actually not sure whether Shaiko had yet seen that his ability had tracked Doki on the top floor.
Yeah, good point.
BDS don't have a lot of info as of yet. Oh
The
no, the
timing,
timing for Leakafak is so unfortunate. The moment he gets out the skeleton key to open up the wall is the moment that Alamau peeks him and takes him on down. G2 in a 5v3, this should be theirs.
I like this though. This is we're not gonna want to play a typical round of Rainbow Six Siege. We're gonna do something funky. That's what this strategy from G2. But look at this, the timing in the inter game. The Yokai stun comes up. That's not enough. They get server control and maybe even the sidewall after this.
A good play from Solotov. Regrouped now the remaining players for BDS. However, there is still an X factor, and that is Loira upstairs. He's able to activate his ability and go for a potential flank. Solotov has an inkling. Visual's ability does not make him quieter in terms of footsteps. Solotov can just hold on here to this position. I think he's got an idea. There's a yellow ping. They should be able to go for a pre-fight. He needs to win this fight though, but he loses it. And that means Loira can come in for a big flank. All up to Users now. He gets his first, but he won't find Alum out. Big swing from G2. And it looks like they do have a bit of bite in them after all. BDS cannot call it just yet. Doki's firing up.
It's a good flank attempt there from Loira. Just like staying alive is a big thing right now. I always have the saying that doing nothing is doing something in Rainbow Six Siege. Just because of the sheer fact that you're alive, you can cover more angles, you can do more stuff with that, and just the enemy is gonna have more worries, if you will, about you as well. So Loira just sitting there holding the flank, it forces BDS to put one player to watch a flank that isn't even happening, and then they die to a C4 on the side as well.
And we've got Alfama here on the line for a bit of a call in. What have you seen, Leo?
What have I seen? Well, I just wanted to talk about the shift in the way G2 is playing, because I think that's why they're in the lead right now. If you take a look at the first 3 rounds, I think you would argue that they were trying to force bodies into BDS, playing super aggressively, the same way they beat Fnatic yesterday. But actually, like you pointed out, Pengu, whenever they're facing BDS, they're facing a team that can shut down that aggression. And arguably, it should have been 3-0 for BDS for the first 3 rounds. Now, take a look at the way they adapted. They either went with a full turtle and did not give any bodies to BDS, or, just like the last round, they finally roamed, but very differently. They had Valkyrie, they had Echo, they had Intel to play aggressive. And that's the reason why they're winning right now, because they found an adaptation and they're not only throwing random bodies at people. So that's what I want to look at, is the way that G2 is adapting right now.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Leo. Always nice to hear what G2 are thinking on the other side of it. I gotta say, I feel a little bit intimidated. I'm sitting here with you, Pengu. I got Leo on the line. Like,
I was gonna say, right?
Know
This
all about
good.
this game. And it's just me sitting here like, yeah, okay, sure. All these former players telling me what these guys are thinking. But I mean, it's always good to get a bit of insight, because G2, like Leo said, like they really have flipped this game.
Just want to also say that really appreciate Leo joining the EOL as well. I mean, he was a player that, you know, I played not alongside with, but in the same leagues, and we were in the same space and whatnot, and always enjoyed my time with that guy, talking, theory crafting, deeming a bit sometimes, and always a lovely guy to have around the green room as well at LAN events. But look at this, I mean, adaptation,
Okay.
jump out the window at 11 HP, go for it, doesn't work out, hey?
Well, Blaz has been the talk of much of the town since he got picked up by G2. You know, he's been around forever in the scene, and yeah, bounced around between a lot of teams. He's found a home now on G2. Unfortunate for him that he loses his life early, but he has struggled this game. 1 kill so far, 5, now 6 rounds in. But it's not just him getting aggressive. Alan out here at top square as well. I think BDS have read this playstyle perfectly.
Yeah, I think so too. I think you're right on that. The bigger issue for me is also no Echo, no Valkyrie, so having a player dead early means no cam watching, but look at that. Alamal missed the first time, gets it the second, it's gonna maybe fall back. Nope, stay active on the room for now. It's 4v4, little bit call going off. No more left in pocket for that in terms of utility. Still got 3 Deimos strikers though for intel later on, but this is gonna be a very slow upcoming minute, basically, I think. BDS gonna slow things down, double check the roam clear. We might actually see one of the first actual bomb site executes, where there's gonna be more than like 2 or 3 people left in the server, as it is still a 4v4.
I don't know. I'm not convinced that G2 will allow it to get to that point. They seem
might
to be
not.
so interested in contesting in this mid-round, right? So will it get to a point where BDS and G2 find themselves in like a 4v4 I'm not sure, because as we see, they're still fighting for it. 3 days lucky to be alive after the floor explodes beneath him, but he will get that breach off and start putting pressure downstairs onto the site. Users, meanwhile, has taken down Loira, and G2 have lost their advantage.
Falling apart. He's gonna find one more. Maybe the timing though. Gets the flick, gets the kill. 4v1 now. Doki has to clutch up big for G2.
Attackers bomb diffuser has
So
been
winnable
dropped.
for him though. He's got
15
position
seconds
for it.
remaining.
He's got the guns for it. Both of them.
Left.
He's got the loadout. Oh, big from Uno with the Capcan trap. It's just a 1v2 now for Doki. Flashed out, but Shaiko will not hold back. He goes in deep for it. And Vendetta is what serves him his vengeance on Doki. Great work there from BDS to convert from what was a little bit of a rough mid-round. And Doki and G2 need to be careful. They can't get complacent. They might have had the lead for a brief moment, but it was brief indeed.
I like this kind of switch up from G2 because something that I don't think that we see enough of at like tier 1 level play is basically pace shifting, where you go fast one round, slow the next, and you're always gonna kind of try and throw a curveball to your opponent. G2, they've been doing that quite well so far on Bank, where they will do those funky roam games on the basement, then they're gonna play not a super relaxed round afterwards, but you know, not the same kind of craziness. And then this, what we just saw, window jump out, swinging, you know, right here from Alamau, always seeking a confrontation. The only thing I think they had missing in that particular moment was they didn't have any intel operators. Because if you want to play aggressive and you're gonna lose a body early on, if you have a Valkyrie or bulletproof cameras, a Maestro and Echo, basically just intel. Then that first player who died, Blast in that previous round, could have been watching so many different pieces of information to share with his teammates. Instead, Blast dies, all the default cameras are shot, he's stuck watching his own teammates' perspective instead, and you get basically no value out of that death. So, small things, you know, can go either way. I think Doki's gonna be a little bit sad that he didn't get that round clutch, because when that Capcan trap came through, I felt like he was feeling it too.
Yeah, there was an opportunity there, but it's hard in that position, right? Like, in principle, you're very cornered. He'd been flashed 100 times. It's not going to happen for him. But unfortunately for G2, it does mean that BDS have brought it on back. It's 3-3 at the half, and G2 now have to switch onto their attack. It's Doki's turn to be the cam hunter. And he is spotting some of the mute jammers. He'll likely be on the lookout for the Valkyrie cams as well, and potentially even the Vigil. We've talked so much about how deadly that operator can be.
Oh.
Speaking of, Solotov is read like a book and taken down very quickly before doing any damage with the Boss G.
That's just too easy, right? I mean, that's one lone roamer with 4 people play on site. That's like what we call a 1+4 strat. We have like a single element working alone. When G2 was roaming, they had 3 roamers and the 2 guys on site, Uno for example, playing aggressive on server staircase. That's a full commitment roam versus a very minimal commitment roam. The good news of BDS though, they can play out the round 4 versus 4 now with that C4 kill and cut their losses short. Losing Vigil, not a huge issue. And also, like we just spoke about, he has intel to watch. Bulletproof camera, Valk cams as well. His death will not be for nothing. He can still help his teammates from the grave, and that's the big difference.
Now, I'd love to know how Leakafak has managed to sneak back upstairs here. I really don't know how, but I guess they knew about it and let him through, only to bait him into a kill. At least for G2, Laura was ready for it, and they do confirm it. Also, good info on site. Thank you to the drone in the drone hole up at the back of the bomb site. But G2 now just need to convert this advantage that they have once again gained.
And that was wild. Leaguefact working off a yellow ping for a free kill and saying, just go flank, this guy's on drones, but a second player holds the angle. Unfortunate, that's always gonna suck when that happens. You feel a bit baited by the communication and the false sense of information. G2, they still got a little bit of time to work at 45 on the clock, but they gotta speed up a little bit here because either they're gonna have to take servers or they're gonna have to drop down those hatches with a, flashbang spam. Either way, this comes down to timing and communication. Who's gonna hold what? Who's gonna drop where? A 3, 2, 1 countdown, and then you gotta drop that hatch and take that fight.
And Shaiko's the player here to watch Bolt. Everyone else seemingly holding on to the other side. He finds the first one and the second. Oh, man. Shaiko has cleaned up here on the Volt drop. Laura, though, looking for a refrag, has to sprint in and push for it here. SMG-12 in hand, but Shaiko does what Shaiko does best. Alamau with it all to do. 1 kill. Where's Bride? Where's Diffuser? No chance he can find either. And Bride just has to hold on to the time. BDS fire up for another round. They will take the lead.
I'm not entirely sure what happened there, but Diffuser was on the lobby hatch in lobby. not dropped down. Not sure that was the injury that happened mid-air or someone dropped it or whatever. But either way, Shaiko was there at the right moment, at the right time, shutting down the push. And the very big thing to note there, BDS didn't have clear-cut information of where the actual push was coming from. It could have been server hatch, it could have been the hallway hatch, it could have been lobby drop, it could have been anywhere basically. But they actually picked 2 of the 3 entry paths and shut G2 down pretty quickly actually. And with that, of course, by their first defensive W, you see right here, injured mid-air, gets a second. That's what happened right there. Unu didn't drop yet. That's why the fuse was on the ground. So even if Shaiko dies here, the round is basically over. The case is cold. BDS can just, you know, chill on site, run away, whatever. Oh, I saw the tough.
Yeah, bye, I guess. That is kind of wild. A bit of a wild way for the round to flip. Really, it kind of just comes to Shaiko, doing Shaiko things. And as you can see, guys, we are just going to go for a really quick rehost while we get everyone back into the lobby for a technical pause. But as it stands, I mean, this game has been back and forth. Like, I think Leo had some great analysis when he jumped in, but BDS have also looked really solid. It's not been a one-sided game at all. It's been quite back and forth, and I don't feel like I'm convinced that either team is gonna steal ahead. I wouldn't be surprised if we just continue trading rounds until we hit overtime.
I am actually with you on that one, and also to Alpha's point about the adaptation, especially from G2 side, I very much see this play out where team, let's say BDS, will make a play or play around out a certain way. G2 will make an adaptation, they're gonna do their counter. BDS will make these small readjustments because that's what it is. You can't be crazy and play a 5th bomb site to reinvent the wheel. You know, there is no 5th bomb site on this map, so you have to work with the things that are already known. Bomb sites, the key positions, the operators, but those very small things, exactly where you play, exactly how you execute it, and of course whether you win your really crucial gunfight and stuff like that, that's gonna determine a lot of the outcome of these rounds, I feel, where it's really gonna be that classic devil's in the details. But also both these 2 teams, they're out for blood. They want to fight back and forth constantly every single round so far.
Yeah, but in a moment like this, you do have to be able to just chill. And this could be quite a long game, and you know, you're not really allowed to talk in these technical pauses, so you just have to chill.
It looked like,
I don't know,
Igifag was locked in like crazy, and you got Shaiko like a little kid in his phone playing games. It's like maintaining composure and focus, and just like, oh, I got a phone notification. Oh, no.
Yeah, you're right. Like, you look at this man's face.
Oh, look at Shaiko.
Shaiko just does not
like,
give a
oh,
damn.
okay.
What a contrast. Oh my god, it's such
He's
a
so
stark
focused.
contrast.
Oh, I love this.
He's so serious.
It's like screen 1
here
is the
comes-
game, screen 2 is the phone. His game is booted up. He's not joining the server because he's got phone time. oh, the game's booted up. Oh, I gotta lock it. Oh, okay.
What did you call Shaiko's posture before we were talking about Shaiko?
It's so Shaiko sits in this way where it looks like he like has like this shape of a shrimp basically. So I call it the shrimp posture, where it's like proper game posture. You basically need to, instead of being up straight with your back, you gotta bend it a bit at your hips, lean forward, and then round your shoulders as well. And if you then imagine you have your legs a little bit up, you basically look like a shrimp that's a little bit cooked, but not cooked enough. But it works. Shaiko's a giga gamer, so.
Oh, I would never question the man. He absolutely farms, and today's not really been much of an exception.
Shaiko's pretty much shaped, I think, a generation, if you will, of wannabe like pro players or competitive players of Siege, where like I think the most copied sensitivity and settings is probably Shaiko's, like the 4:3 aspect ratio, 84 FOV, like the 12:12:35 cents or whatever. That's like a whole thing. Like it's like a movement, kind of like the Kickstart multiplier, the 0.00223 is the default multiplier. Not many players can shape, you know, a whole generation or a whole player base like that.
Well, Shaiko is just good enough that everyone looks at him and is like, okay, he's doing amazing. What is he doing? You actually mentioned to me off stream earlier, like that's what Usus is doing, right? Like Usus was the wannabe Shaiko, and now he's been picked up. He's like Shaiko light.
That's what I believe that it was for like Citizen and Usus and probably some other players as well, where they would play like the 4:3 84. They would play the same sense, the same mouse, that kind of thing, and it's not a bad thing to be a fanboy, because who wouldn't want to be a player like Schalke that gets spoken of so highly, who gets up these incredible performances so consistently? And one big question mark I always had to Schalke's career was, why wouldn't this guy learn English and open up the doors for himself? Because, you know, BDS for a long time wasn't the team that we know today. They were not like top of the food chain or making every event or expected to, you know, win majors. When they finally got the good players, you know, like when BD joined the roster, League Effect, etc., it didn't click instantly either. Now they speak English. All of a sudden, guess what? They're doing really good already.
Yeah, it is funny to say that. Like, I don't think I could ever imagine a world where Schalke was not playing for this team, right? Like, it's just Schalke and BDS. They're one and the same. But if you ever imagined that he was a free agent or he was looking for an opportunity, nobody would say no to Schalke. Especially now that he's playing in English. Like, man, if this guy could speak Portuguese, he could have any team in the world he wanted.
Oh, you're so right. And that really is the thing. And I also imagine that it's very hard for a player to be so wanted, because you have all these people possibly pulling your strings. Hey, imagine you want to come over here. Like, if you're a big North American organization with a bunch of money, for example, throwing the bag at him, and then you go, okay, I make good money over here. Maybe we can, maybe not, but like, I feel good about it. Because there comes a point in really great players' careers where you have to choose, in a way, between money and fame that way, like being like a big content guy or playing for a big org for the money's sake, or you want trophies, and that's where your fame, that's where your legacy is gonna be solidified. So you can choose either or. Of course, the trophies comes back as well, but winning is so much harder than a guaranteed monthly salary that just comes into the bank account.
Are there any players you're thinking of, like maybe Swedish players that are coming to mind when you're?
Are you thinking that I'm thinking Spoit?
I never said that.
No.
Never. But
granted,
hypothetically
speaking, that could be one of the people actually, right? Where, and it's not a bad thing. It's just that if M80 were a world championship roster where they were winning stuff in qualifying and doing really great, Spoit would just be double winning, right? He's getting the bag, he's getting the trophy, he's just doing great for himself. But he left Europe to go on a risky path to North America, which is always risky to make big changes in life in general, and I respect him for it. But M80 did not become the team that I think a lot of people were hyping it up to be in terms of performance. But the guy's making really great content these days, great viewing numbers, and also taking a different avenue with that, doing more variety streaming and getting bigger than just Siege, for example. And I love that for him. But I know there are so many players, so many people, young players too, who looked at Spart like the next guy who's gonna carry a year, who's gonna get trophies, gonna become that star player that we're gonna look up to for the professional aspect of things. But now instead he's more, or at least more than before, of an entertainer than just a pro player.
And it's funny because back in the Rogue days at the Berlin Major, it was obvious that we were all looking at Spoit and thinking, okay, this guy is the next thing. He's going to be a multiple world champion. This is his first major. He's 18 years old and he's just won it. He was the MVP, or more or less, of that event. Absolutely, this guy is going places. He's going to be racking up trophies, probably going to be breaking some of your records. But he chose a path that was more about like joining this risky roster, and it has worked out for him in one aspect, but perhaps not another. But it's just so fascinating how the scene has kind of evolved in that way, hasn't it? And it does always feel like, I mean, there are always big hotshot players that come and go. And Shaiko has miraculously been a player who has been so good that there was the whole 4-4-4 thing back in the day, and he's still so good, man. Like, this many years on, he's one of the maturer players in the scene, and arguably even better than he has ever been. Yeah, he's not a world champion yet. He's a major champion, has been for some time now. He's been a 3-time EWC champion, but that's not the same as winning 6 Invitational.
Yeah, I think that's a lot of, motivation is hard to come by when you grind out the same game all day every day, no matter how much you love it. But I think that's also what keeps somebody like Neskapalo going on Team Liquid, someone like Shaiko going on BDS, always striving for more, striving for better, is that they haven't gotten that ultimate prize yet. That's what they're still hungry for. BDS, G2, they're locked in the server. They're not fighting for a hammer right now, but they are fighting for the second play of the EUL here in Stage 2, and maybe the title of who could potentially be the best team or best looking team early on. It's 4-3 favoring BDS, but it's very much been a back and forth, so I would not be surprised, nor would you, Diff, I know that, if this becomes a 4-4 and G2 might take this one.
I expect that this will be a continued back and forth game. Yes, Shaiko can't fight for the hammer right now, but the reason he didn't have a chance to fight for the hammer last SI was because G2 knocked BDS out of the Atlanta Major. So this is a big game with an opportunity for revenge for BDS. G2 gonna try and make this execute work, just continuing to put the pressure on from the outside of these windows, but no bullets have exchanged thus far. Still, these castle barricades are up, they haven't been cleared, and BDS are just sitting back and waiting.
By attackers.
This is so awkward. G2 want BDS to move, but they're not forcing them to move like BDS were doing on their attacking side. But here they're gonna go, Doki rappel on in, gets shut down immediately.
Big kill from Solotov, and a big one from Malikafak as well, jumping on out. Funnily enough, the smoke is what actually saves Uno. He does confirm that kill. And yeah, Doki's having a laugh about that one, but I wouldn't be laughing too much, Doki, as it is still a 4v3 BDS in advantage. And they just have to hold on, like they really just have to sit there. I think they've read this perfectly. As you said, G2 are trying to get BDS to move, but they're not actually pushing them.
That is it. Like they rappel on in into, pre-fire essentially. They get shut down immediately. Now they gotta go for a different avenue. Uno's still on the rappel. Laura inside of heaven. Looking for an angle, looking for a play. That right there, Solotov is just greedy. Don't go for that swing, my guy. You're playing such a good spot. Great shot from Uno, though. Can you get back to a 3-3? Fire, smoke, and go out, or just double fire. And maybe G2 can still find a way through this.
Yeah, not if Shaiko is going to continue to land shots like that. All up to Uno in the 1v3. He's used his fire to get himself in the building, but he's got no utility left. He's got to find 3 isolated fights. His player's quite separated, but BDS have repositioned very well. The plant faked. Oh, nice pre-fire. Very close, actually. But he goes into the long angle, and guess who? It's Shaiko himself to lock out the rounds. And perhaps a little bit of a lead could develop. BDS 2 rounds away from closing this game.
Yeah, and it really was this matter of poor execute, or I don't even want to say poor actually. I want to say oversimplified execute from G2. There is a couple ways you can do that attack, right? You can send sometimes like a shield operator into a janitor's hallway to pressure janitors while you rappel on in. You can play a Ying to just flash everything on the bomb side. You can do the Sophia stuns like BDS were doing, or use a capital fire to people stuck in corners. G2 didn't even use anything besides 1 or 2 capital smokes and just rappelled on in. That was it. Also, I guess that smoke was on the window frame because Uno missed the second smoke. So worst case scenario, and with that tactical timeout from G2, they will have 60 seconds to talk amongst each other and their support staff, as will BDS of course. But this is where G2 have to get the better, time spent right now talking about things.
Yeah, you got a minute to take, and I think they've just taken it. What can they say to quickly flip the switch? It's funny because we had quite an extended technical timeout where the teams were not allowed to talk, and BDS seemed to come out swinging on the back of that. Now G2 have had their tactical timeout where they can discuss strategy, and on this attack they're really going to have to shape up. Like they just, I think, were quite red. As you can see here, like you said, like G2 are just hoping that BDS will move, and then when they don't, they just rappel on in, and BDS are sitting there waiting with open arms. Of course, it's going to be very different on a different bomb site now. And we saw that story in the first half as well. G2 struggled on the bomb sites that weren't the top floor for quite some time.
10 seconds insertion.
I do imagine all that technical time I was spent talking about maybe some things about like the mentality of things, either not being scared to make a play, or hey, if you see an opening, call for it, that kind of thing, because it just looked like G2 were kind of out of options in that previous round. And that's not a bad thing, You can have a round here and there where no one sees the opening or no one has like the right solution. But if that were to happen, if you do like, let's say a bad play, but everyone's following the bad play, at least something cohesive is going to come out of it, unlike a bit of a chaotic mess that happened there before. I like this, a bit faster to the punch. Your Lion, the Ash, the Buck, soft destruction. Could this be a potential Ross? I wonder for a second here. if anyone wants to go for this, like the line charge, he can take control.
It does feel like there's something set up. Alamau sneaks in from behind and takes down Solotov. Good control now. The Archives is in his hands. There are players upstairs ready for a potential flank, but a good quick jump in. This makes things a little bit awkward. They could trade, but it's good control for G2. Liquefact does fight back a little bit. Bit of a retake from the defense. Does make this somewhat manageable. Loira marching on forward. Good pre-fire from Shaco. How do you fight against that? And still he stands. It's up to him and Users, but Doki does take down Shaco. Finally, Users versus 2.
See, I can play this one. You can play patiently, got so much time left in the round. The thing is, right now, G2 are somewhat separated in the map. Actually, in fact, they're very separated. So if Users strikes right now, that could be good for him, but the issue is there's a lack of information happening. As you see all the bits of BDS mostly watching Users himself and not really any valuable cameras right now. And it's a waiting game. Users not making a move, holding the rotate, and G2 just scouting out what could be happening here. They must not have spotted him because they had 3 trackers left on Doki's demos, and they're not using them. So use this drone, try and find Users, use the trackers, and then get the intel.
Doesn't matter, I guess, because Alabama's got it.
Just like that.
It's an unfortunate move. Like, what do you do there for Users? Do you drop? And I think maybe perhaps he was heard as he did go for that drop. The G2 are happy to lock that one out. They were very thorough. They knew that they had over a minute and a half to win that 2v1, so they didn't rush it. Smart move from them. It was not a slow start to the round, though, that's for sure. They just jumped in, they went for it, and fortunately it did pan out in their favor, but there were a few moments there where BDS looked like they had maintained control of the site.
The only thing that I saw that I was like, was just the sheer lack of follow-up. It was a very kind of fast, everybody was a part of something in like the 5v5 and the 4 versus 4. And then we saw a player from G2, I didn't see exactly what it was, jump into the side window to support this aggression from Alamau, but then there's no real follow-up after that, because in the 3v3, in the middle of it all, it was G2 being off the bomb site, with most of BDS also roaming above and elsewhere. I think if G2 fully committed to the bomb site push, it was pretty free for the take, and of course we know that with our point of view, they might not have known that, but I just feel like they're not buying into the exact same thing right now when it comes to their attacks. On defense, as we always say, a bit easier. You got more intel to work with, you got more map control, you know what's clear and what's not clear somewhat. But on the attack, it's all about, again, just committing to things with the right timing, with the good communication, and a somewhat decent strategy. And so far, G2, they're not hitting all 3 of those marks consistently, but when they hit them, that's typically when they found their round success.
Have a look at this. Look, sneaking on through early into garage for Loira. His gadget means he's hidden. I don't think anybody's watching for him. He could get some very advanced control. Perhaps even find a pick on the back of it. How long will he wait patiently?
It's a question. See these cams being used from both teams as well. It's a very common one inside of lobby. Love me some Nuke.
Bomb located by
But it's difficult, right? The line in the sand. If you go too far, you die. You stay far too back, you don't get to kill the railing. Oh god, really hits the shot.
Yeah, that's a rough one. Tough pill to swallow for Loira. He really should have found something more there. He had the prime position, but he lost his one. And yeah, G2 are just falling apart. I don't know what happened there.
They have no idea Uno's here. They're in look.
Yeah, nice, but that's one kill.
Yeah, but they could have so worked with that, and they didn't. Instead, it falls apart elsewhere. Like, oh my god, what's even happening here? BDS is winning the round out of nowhere. If G2 have Uno drop the hatch unnoticed, Loira pushing Garage with Nuke as well, also unnoticed, why is there not like a cohesive strategy being built around these massive gaps? It's 2 individual players doing their individual thing, seemingly without a microphone. Because nothing's happening where it should be. I bet you if that was BDS, where like Liquefact is pushing Garage or Liquefact is Uno dropping the hatch and he finds the opening, the whole team of BDS would be making a play surrounding it, or Liquefact himself would have made a play to enable the rest. Instead, it was 3 separate portions of G2 not doing anything to help each other, and it just completely falls flat.
Look, if there is anybody with the license to critique G2 like that, it is you, my friend. So I'm glad you said it, but you called them out. You said it for what it was. Good ideas, but just so misshapen, so uncoordinated. G2 had a chance there, and yeah, look at where we are. Scoreboard, 6-4 BDS. This should have been a back and forth game, but there has not been enough sticking on these attacks for G2.
10 seconds left.
Oh, I mean, it is a quote-unquote new roster, and we're always going to have high expectations when it comes to G2 because the org carries such a big legacy. Same thing for BDS these days. So we can be a little bit too critical sometimes, maybe, but this is a classic issue of attacking is difficult. That's where your weaknesses will be exploited and shown a lot more frequently, because small mistiming, small lack of coordination can lead to what looks like really one-sided rounds and feels as well like very one-sided rounds. G2 will get a second shot at attacking the upstairs, and you know, now that they've seen the bomb site once, maybe more success the second time around, so we're hoping for at least. We saw BDS and G2 both go for like 4 or 3 people rappels, and while it can be an effective way to play out the round, it has not found the most success from either side in this match.
Well, last chance for redemption for G2. 2 rounds in deficit, and these attacks have been a struggle. And this round in particular, this bomb site, last time we saw it, G2 had so many ideas, Nick, but they weren't able to actually get BDS to start making moves and force them into their lines of sight. Now, it looks like there's a lot of pressure being placed around this stock position. And Shaiko likes to play here. He's got a bulletproof camera to use, and he's actually going to go for a swing. And he is going to find Loira as well. Somehow, uses as well, supporting him as the attempt from G2 to go for a quick push is thwarted. Doki goes in for it. Shaiko knows about it. Oh, what a shot from Shaiko. This guy is nasty. Not an ounce of rust on that trusty blade. Even Doki says, damn, in the chat, I think it's all over, Red Rover. G2 in a 2 versus 5. Make that a 1v5. Uno player left on G2 against the might of the French. They are back in form. Yesterday might have been a blip on the radar. Losing points to Wild. The Solotov says, come and get yours. How long will Uno bait for? It's only a matter of time. Of course, Shaiko locks it in. The smug look on his face says that BDS knows exactly what they have just done. The team that gatekept them from SI last year put in the dirt so early on in the season.
Oh, this could be a good long-term rivalry, to be honest, if G2 gets a little bit closer, perhaps. And the big story here was G2 likes to play aggressive, lock out their opponents, and BDS, they're not the team where that's gonna work. And that exact thing is also what happened, where, yeah, you try and play that ball game against a team that can just out-frag you 1-to-1, you're not gonna come out on top. BDS, they proved just that.
Yeah, that was a rough game from G2. There was some beautiful moments, really lovely moments, but as the game went on, when we saw them flip onto the attack, it was BDS all the way through, and you just cannot count out Shaiko. He was firing on all cylinders tonight, as I'm sure the guys on the desk will be happy to see. Ian, break that down for us.
Dev, thank you very much. BDS, well and truly, back on top, taking down G2. I'm standing by with Fresh and, of course, Alfama. Fresh, BDS showing much more than yesterday, a lot more aggressive for sure.
Yeah, I thought there was. They came out yesterday. They didn't look like they was really playing as a team. They was maybe taking some things for granted. I think today they punished G2 exceptionally well. I thought Shaiko was, playing well. He was on. We actually saw him on operators that he likes to be on. We saw him playing that Deimos, which he wasn't getting to play yesterday when they were playing Nighthaven Labs. Yesterday we saw him on Flores, and we saw him on some like Nomad, those types of operators. Today, Banks a map where he gets a lot of freedom to go out and find those kills, and Deimos is at the helm of that.
I think not only him did get more comfortable on Deimos, but I think overall the team got more comfortable playing on one of the best maps. I know they ban it a lot, but it shows that it's one of their best maps because it streamlines exactly the steps that they should take to win every round. They go slow, methodical, step by step, and know exactly how to counter the roamers. You could see it. They had the right pressure on the roamers, and always someone to cut them, always someone to punish the aggression on G2's side. I know in the end it's a 3-3 split. Arguably, it should have been a 4-2 if it wasn't for the 2v4 in G2's side. But overall, strategically, they were the better team. And once again, playing much better as a team than G2.
G2's playstyle pretty risky, wasn't it, Fresh? But it felt like BDS just had them in the pocket.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say that. I think G2 take a style, and you can call it risky, and I did call it risky. What I mean by that is calculated risk. So I think they know that sometimes they're taking 50-50s, 40-60s, but if they go their way, it really opens up the round. Today, none of them went their way because BDS were just sat waiting for it. You know, that the double repelling we just saw on the CEO attack there.
Yeah.
Dead, round over.
But there is a reason for this. There is actually two reasons. The first reason is BDS is ready to punish that. The second reason is I don't think they set their gunfight for success. I don't think there was enough information on the line. Actually, the only rounds that they won when they had a heavy roam was when they had both Valkyrie and Echo to feed them information. I feel like whenever they were trying to aggress, it was individuals doing it, and they didn't have a trade potential, and they didn't have the information. And that should you should always have either a backup, either intel, or both. That's what I lacked here.
So what you're really saying, Leo, is that I owe you an apology. Because this was the point you was trying to make in the pregame was, hey, we've not actually seen G2 play as a team yet. Fnatic didn't really turn up against them. And that was your concern. And that's what materialized.
Yeah, my biggest concern here is the lack of strategically playing together towards the same plan. Even the rappel in was decoordinated, by the way.
Yeah.
One goes in and then the other one goes afterwards. And most importantly, where was the utility? Where did they remove anyone on site before going in? No. And that's my issue here. Technically, they're not taking the right steps strategically to win.
Yeah, lots of work to do for G2 for sure. This is, of course, only a best of one. It is very early here in stage 2, Fresh. But when you do, like we teed it up as, two absolute juggernauts of the scene going head to head, that win does mean a lot to BDS.
It does, because one thing it does give them is the mental going into should they face G2 again. Because remember the way that the league works, right? We get league positions that takes us into playoffs to compete for the major. There's a fair chance we see a G2 BDS competing for the major, and BDS are already 1-0 up in that game because they've won this game. It will set them well. You know, 5 points from 6, not ideal for BDS. They'd have wanted 6 from 6, but it's still a great platform to achieve their goals.
Leo, we got to shine a spotlight on the monster that is Shaiko. Come on.
Man, this guy is incredible. Like, how long has he been in the game, and yet he still performs the way he does? I think out of everything, even that kill on Blue Stairs is super important. It's a 1v1, and it's a key way to take it. But multiple times he had, especially here, the Vault hold, a double kill, and then a third one when he will turn into cash, he will look towards the elevator and get a third one. All of these rounds where he has multi-kills are so important because it's kills that matter, kills that are impactful, kills that turn the tide in every round. He was the real difference maker here and one of the guys that was the most able to punish the aggression on the side of G2 as well.
I just want to know what he was doing on his phone.
That shows how confident he was. He was so comfortable just being and scrolling on his phone before going in and just smashing triple kills against G2.
Absolutely, what a player. We're now joined by Usus, who can now talk us through that win as well. Usus, last time you and I had a conversation, you just had a massive win at EWC. What has preparation been like for EUL since then?
It's been the same as the stage 1 and the major and the World Cup. It's just hard work, scrimming a lot, that's it. Don't do much special, I don't think. I mean, I don't know what other teams do, but compared to what we did in M&M and BDS, it's similar. Just a lot of hard work.
Hustling hard, Fresh.
Yeah, what was the preparation like for G2? Because obviously that's a team that you know well personally, lots of friends on that team. Was there anything different preparing for G2?
Not really. As in, you mean different for like a team or different because it's G2?
Different because it's
Like this
G2?
time.
Like what did you do to prepare for them?
Oh, we just did what we did for every other team, to be honest.
So
and
you don't
obviously
take them-
Strikers get 17 kills.
Yeah, so you don't look at, do you just look at every opponent as the same Users? Because we really value this as a big win for you guys. But did you treat G2 the exact same way you did Wild?
Yeah, well, we didn't have much to look at on Wild, obviously, because that's literally their first game, so that's why it was a bit harder. And I think Wild were playing with the mindset of like nothing to lose. So I literally said I think the G2 game will be easier than Wild game because just the type of match it is.
And then just a quick one on Bank, because we saw teams pick this map into you at EWC. We saw Fury and FaZe pick it against you, and you beat both of them. And then you've beaten G2 on it. Do you think teams underestimate your Bank as a team?
Honestly, I have no idea. I think FaZe and Fury did, but I don't think G2 underestimated. I think there's just like they didn't want to play console again, which was the other map, and then the other map was Bank.
Users, I always get the impression whenever we talk that you're just strictly business, right? You're just all about playing the game. But We are talking you guys up as the best team in the world right now. You are like Europe's biggest hub to go on and prove that. You've done a lot at EWC, of course, recently, and you've got the Montreal Major coming up and then SI after that. I think for you guys to really solidify yourselves as those front runners, as the top dogs, you need more silverware, right?
Yeah, I agree. We all want to win the major. Mainly want to win SI. Obviously, we want to win the major too, but I think everyone's eyes are on SI. No offense to the major.
Any final bits for the big man?
No, just obviously good luck. Go and win it this time if you do get there.
Thank you.
All right. Cheers, mate. Best of luck in the rest of the campaign, all right?
Thank you. Thank you.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.
Always just cool. Always chilled. Gives nothing away, this man, does he, Fresh?
No, he doesn't want to. He just says we prepare for every team the same.
Yeah.
You know, just like you said, strictly business, but that's admirable.
Strictly business. You're right, it is admirable. We're not finished here yet. Don't you worry about a thing. We've still got one matchup still to come, and it's next. See you soon.